The words used to describe LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels: field tilting speed, game breaker, and of course, Heisman. We're going to be quickly breaking down everything we saw on film from Jayden Daniels. We're going to preview his scouting profile in the Football Guys Rookie Guide and tell fantasy managers how they should be valuing him. Nick, what do you see when you watch Jayden Daniels on film?
Yeah, you see an exciting prospect. I mean, obviously people have seen the game breaking speed and it really lights up. Like you watch some of those small school guys do it and you're like, okay, you did this against, Pepperdine or wherever, but doing it in the SEC and you're the best athlete, like it really pops out on tape. So I think that's exciting. The one thing that's underrated, I feel like with his athleticism is he's nimble. Like he navigates too. It's not just he can go in a straight line, which is obviously really enticing for fantasy owners. The other thing I like too about him is in terms of being a quarterback, he's got a good base in the pocket and he's always in that ready to throw position and he understands concepts well and a multitude of concepts. So, whenever that wide receiver does come open, he's ready to just turn it loose and let it go. In terms of throwing, he really has good accuracy on that deep ball. I mean, he had some really good guys out there, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., and he hit them. I would like some of them are like over the shoulder. It's like really good placement, which you think of big plays in fantasy, that's really going to give you some points too.
Yeah, you talk about that deep ball and the way he's able just to place that ball perfectly. You don't really see a lot of guys that can do both, where they're able to toss the ball deep, but then also kind of have the touch to make it drop into a bucket. Mm-hmm. And so if someone's going to look at Jayden Daniels and say, maybe he doesn't have that zip on his arm, he doesn't have that rocket launcher for an arm, fine, but he's going to drop that ball directly into the hands of his receivers 30, 40 yards downfield. And I am very happy with that. Now, you mentioned his nimble feet, that good base in the pocket. He's a guy that's got good footwork. And I wish he would use that footwork a little bit more to kind of maneuver the pocket and kind of keep the play on schedule as opposed to just leaving that pocket immediately. We know he's fast. Everyone knows he's fast. It's not a secret, but he's got the footwork. And I think that's one of those things that once he gets to the league and a coach is actually working with him day in and day out, that coach is going to be able to help him, continue to use that footwork, but to be able to sit in the pocket and make those throws that we want to see, particularly over the middle of the field and on those intermediate routes.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I think that would be really cool to add to his game would be backing out of the pocket. Like you see, like one of the comps you talked about, the guy that can arc it and place the ball down there is like Russell Wilson. You see Russell, he backs out of pockets and buys time with his athleticism, but he also can have those rainbow deep shots where he hits DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And I really could see him adding that to his game and just really coming up another tier in terms of being a quarterback.
Our YouTube channel is already loaded with rookie scouting profiles like Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and so many more. So make sure you're subscribed to the Football Guys YouTube channel here so you don't miss any of them. Now, Nick Whalen, we have got a phenomenal Football Guys rookie guide over here, and we have a profile on Jayden Daniels. I'd love for you to just lay out some of these strengths and improvements, player comps, all that stuff that is in the Football Guys rookie guide.
Yeah, the first one is deep ball accuracy, which we already touched on. And one of the stats I thought that's really cool with him is he had 90 plays of over 20 yards last year, which I think is like a record in college football. So he really took advantage of that accuracy down the field. And then the rushing ability, again, making huge gains with his feet, being able to outrun defensive linemen and linebackers and being able to manipulate, which was really cool too. And then taking care of the football. I mean, I had him as one of the least turnover-worthy play rates in all of college football last year. I think it's the lowest of any of the prospects in this draft. In terms of improvements, again, these are just things that could take him to another level as a quarterback. I think throwing under pressure would be nice. Keeping his eyes up within the pocket would just, I think, enhance and use that deep ball accuracy a little bit more. Gets through more of his progressions. I see him going through one, maybe to two, and then he scrambles. If he could get to three or that check down, that would kind of save, I think, a little bit more on his body and his legs. And then adding weight. He weighed in at 210 at his pro day. He played between 190 and 195 for most of his career. So I don't know what his true weight is, but adding
that's a big lunch right before his weigh-in.
Right. Yeah. And then another thing is being a runner too. Like I want him to slide, you know what I mean? Because with that weight, you don't want it to come to not getting injured. So just slide would help too. So in terms of a player comp, my favorite one actually is Justin Fields, where you see a guy that's uber athletic, that can run it and really take advantage of some holes and 80-yard touchdowns if you need to running, but then also with that really good deep ball accuracy and a good arm. I wouldn't say either guy has, a rocket arm, but has a really good arm. So that's my favorite comp. One of them in the guide is Deshaun Watson, which I could see too. It's kind of tough because we haven't seen elite Deshaun Watson in a few years, but he was a
Right.
really athletic and good thrower as well.
Yeah, the tough thing with Jayden Daniels is that when you start to look at the player comps that he has, whether it's analytically or for his body type or even just for his play style, it doesn't end up being a lot of player comps that are players that have been uber successful in the league. That doesn't mean that Jayden Daniels can't. A guy that he sort of reminds me of, by the way, I love the Justin Fields comp. I think that's really on the nose right there. Another guy who we just haven't seen it in the league, and we unfortunately may not just because of the situation, Hendon Hooker over in the Detroit Lions. He's another guy that was also a late breakout, very careful with the ball, didn't have a whole lot of turnovers, similar kind of size and weight, body build, not nearly as dynamic of a rusher, but it was a very similar thing where he got a lot of criticism for making easy reads and a lot of just deep throws instead of those simple throws over the middle and intermediate stuff. And another guy with a rough pressure to sack percentage. So that's another guy that I could see. Him being comp to. And the thing with Jayden Daniels, at least the positive here, right? If we're going to try to escape these comps, it's he got better every single year. The tough part is that you're not going to find a lot of player comps where you see a guy who really broke out and did it at the age of 23 and had a ton of success in the league. So if Jayden Daniels is able to do that, he's going to be an outlier. And if there's a guy who can be an outlier, it is Jayden Daniels. So if you want more information on a guy like Jayden Daniels or any of these other rookies, click the link in the comments below to download the 2024 Football Guys rookie guide that has 150 plus prospects. Some great work from our guys over at the Football Guys Dynasty Show. Now, Nick, when we take a look at the analytics for Jayden Daniels, what do those say?
Yeah, some pretty interesting things, both good and bad. One is 50.6% of his pass plays when he was pressured actually ended in a pass attempt. The rest were either sacks or scrambles. Now, again, I know you lean into the scrambles because it's a strength, but you need to throw more, especially at the NFL level. 1.6% of his career turnover worthy play rate, which is outstanding. That was the best in college football. And I think that's awesome when you compare that one to how many big plays he made. I think that's actually pretty outstanding. 24.5% career pressure to sack rate. That's worst among this class. That's pretty rough, especially with his athleticism. You want him to see him escape more there. But again, this past year, he improved to 20.2% pressure to sack rate in his final season. So it's nice to see him ascending in that category.
Yeah, he's a guy that we've been talking even off air that he's very difficult to evaluate because there's a lot of good and then there's also a lot of bad. I think one of the things that really stood out to me when I was looking here, just some basic stats, his yards per attempt and on his passing plays, 11.5. So 11 and a half yards per attempt. That's 2 more yards per attempt than any other quarterback that's been drafted in the last 3 years. It's one of those things that really made him stand out, not only amongst this draft class, but amongst a lot of the other rookie quarterback prospects that have come out in the last few years. The last quarterback to actually have a similar yards per pass attempt was Mac Jones. I don't know that's necessarily the guy that you want to have in the same vicinity as you when it comes to the stats. Mac Jones also had a very different pressure to sack ratio. So once again, guys, these are not opinions. This is just us listing off numbers. Jayden Daniels is still a phenomenal player. One thing I did want to reference though, Ben Solak, who phenomenal mind over at The Ringer, he brought up this stat the other day and I thought it was very worthy of bringing up here on the scouting report that we're doing. Jayden Daniels had the 5th lowest career pass attempts of at least 10 plus yards down the middle of the field. The only other guys that were in that realm, the other 4, 2016, Christian Hackenberg, 2014, Teddy Bridgewater, 2015, Marcus Mariota, and then your comp, Nick, 2021, Justin Fields. So when we start to list these comps, we look at the analytics, we look at the film, we start to realize there might be a lot more Justin Fields to Jayden Daniels' game, especially when we look at the 1,250 rushing yards last season in college football, which led the nation. This is the type of thing that can break fantasy football, the same way that Justin Fields did in the past couple seasons. What's going to be very important is what is around him. Now, fantasy managers, dynasty managers, I'm sure you're wondering, what do I do here with Jayden Daniels? Where should I be drafting him? Well, Football Guy's own Jay Stein has been running a bunch of 5-round rookie mock drafts, super flex, of course, giving us exclusive rookie draft ADP just for you. And we can kind of see the trends here. So the average draft position sort of agrees with what we think about Jayden Daniels here, Nick. Jayden Daniels has actually dipped from 3rd overall and quarterback 2 to 5th overall and quarterback 3 in Superflex rookie drafts behind Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Drake May. Now, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest rookie draft ADP, those numbers are getting updated every single week by Jay Stein over on footballguys.com. You can check the link in the comments down below for that. Now, here's the moment of truth, our dynasty rankings, Nick. Amongst the rookies, the quarterbacks, of course, where do you have Jayden Daniels ranked?
Yeah, I guess I've been agreeing with Jay Stein's ADP mock drafts because I have him quarterback 3 in this class. And I know you can debate that a few different ways because you have to think of the floor and the ceiling, but I feel comfortable at 3 because I do like 4 quarterbacks in this class. So that's not I don't think a slight. This is actually a really, really good class.
Yeah, I've also got him at quarterback 3, and something that I said the other day that I liked Drake May's potential, his ceiling a bit more. I think what I was trying to convey there is that I like his longevity in the league perhaps a bit more. I think there's a bit more uneasiness when it comes to Jayden Daniels. If we're talking about redraft, I'd be fine drafting him next season because I think that rushing upside is just immaculate, and that's the kind of thing you look for when it comes to a guy that's going to be probably a cornerstone of my team. I want to feel more comfortable about him 5 or 6 years down the line. So if that's the tiebreaker, if that's where I end up between him or Drake May, that's probably why I lean Drake May over Jayden Daniels. Now, when we take a look at this quarterback prospect amongst all players in Dynasty at the quarterback spot, Nick, where do you rank Jayden Daniels?
I have Jayden Daniels as my quarterback 15. I think he's still a really exciting prospect, and especially when you stack it against some guys that have had some years that haven't gone according to plan already, and you start looking at potential, especially the running capability. 15 is where I felt comfortable, but if he has a good half of a season or for a season, I could see him jumping up quite a few notches from there.
Yeah, I've got him at quarterback 14, and it's a lot of the reasons you just said there. I mean, obviously, quarterbacks just in general should be a little bit higher in these Superflex Dynasty startups, which is why you're seeing him probably go late 2nd, early 3rd round. But I think it's that rushing capability, right? And I think if someone wanted to make the argument that he should be like quarterback 10 or even higher, cool, I agree with you. If someone wanted to make the argument that maybe he should be quarterback 18 because they're uneasy about it, cool, I agree with you. Jayden Daniels is one of those guys that's going to have a wide range of possibilities, and I'm pretty comfortable with him around that quarterback 14 or quarterback 15, like you have him as well. But that late 2nd, early 3rd is probably going to be the sweet spot for him in Dynasty startup drafts. Now, if you're curious about these Dynasty startup drafts and the rankings that we all have, head on over to footballguys.com where all of our rookie, dynasty, and redraft rankings are over on the site. You can find that link in the comments down below. And like I mentioned before, our YouTube channel is already loaded with all these rookie scouting profiles. We've got this one. We've got Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Marshawn Lloyd. So many different prospects, and we're going to keep adding all throughout the draft season and the off season. So make sure you are subscribed to the Football Guys YouTube channel. Make sure to leave a comment, drop a like on this video, and we'll catch you next time.